What are you going to do today, Napoleon?
Give us some freaking spoilers. What do you think?
So Napoleon Dynamite, a great film. If you haven't seen it, definitely recommend that you do. It's actually one of my favourite films of all time. So yeah, absolutely brilliant film. And I'm going to talk about what I feel some of the lessons it imparts are. Now, these may not necessarily be what the filmmakers intended. It's just my view when I watch the film, what I feel I get from it in terms of the lessons, what it's trying to do, and the messages that it's trying to send. And I'm going to go through some of the characters, starting with Kip Dynamite. Now, on the surface, it seems like Kip Dynamite changes to suit Le Fonda. We see him go from geek to gangster in the space of the film. But Kip doesn't really change so much as he becomes more comfortable with the person he is. He becomes more expressive of who he actually is. Now, Kip has an inner confidence but an outer weakness. So we see he can be expressive and poetic on the internet. He can stand up for himself against his younger but taller brother Napoleon, and even speak up for his girlfriend against Uncle Rico. But he is physically weak. He gets smacked and put in a headlock by Napoleon and doesn't really do anything about it. He gets smacked around by Rex, but in all fairness, Rex was a legend of the Octagon. Le Fonda represents his inner confidence in form of a woman. Tall, beautiful, doesn't care too much what other people think of her, and that's evidenced by the post-credit scene when they're getting married. We see that at least one of her family members isn't really too pleased about the marriage, but she gets married to Kip anyway. So what we learn from this is when in a relationship, it is important to find that person who represents that inner part of you, someone who isn't going to force you to become someone else or hinder your development, but someone who is able to help you become the truest version of yourself. Now, this is mostly coming from the school principal. He first complains about Pedro not understanding English, but we see throughout the film that Pedro actually understands English quite well. He infers that they don't have prize down in Juarez over the Summer Wheatley Piñata incident, and doesn't clap when introducing Pedro to the podium, nor when announcing his skits, but does clap for Summer. And also, Summer made the comments during her speech, "Who went for each of me tangas next year? Not me." As a slur against her opponents. Now, to be fair, it might not have been racism, it could have been just a specific disdain for Pedro. But in any case, let's look at how Pedro dealt with it. So really what he does is that he doesn't do anything. He doesn't actually acknowledge that it's happening. Now, as to why he doesn't acknowledge it, that's never stated as to the fact that he's not actually acknowledging it. So allow me to speculate for just a moment as to why he may not be acknowledging the comments against him. Now, I think the reason he doesn't acknowledge it is because he doesn't want to draw attention to it. He doesn't want to give him that victory. He does, however, keep going. He asks out girls as he normally would. He excels at spotting fifth nipples on cows. He applies to run for school president and against all odds wins. So what do we learn from this? We learn that when people try to bring you down, step up. Don't let other people's ignorance define who you are. Now, Napoleon's problem at school is being bullied, but from watching the film, it doesn't seem like it's much of an issue. In the early parts of the film, he's getting made fun of by Don, he gets pushed and kicked by Randy, but in all cases does not cower to them. And when Randy's picked on a smaller child, who also, by the way, wasn't cowering to him, Napoleon presents him with Pedro's protection, which turned out to be Pedro's cousins, making their presence felt to Randy. So this shows that even if you're not as physically strong, you can still stand up to bullies. You ain't gonna take no shit from nobody. And just like Pedro, you don't let other people define who you are. Now, when Uncle Rico and Kip are in the diner, Rico mentions that Tammy left him because, he was still living the past. Now, throughout the film, at various points, we see that he watches tapes of himself run football around, he reminisces about 1982, fantasizes about what would have happened to his life had he gone pro, and he tries to go back in time. So he is still living in the past throughout the film, and by the end of the film, we see him throwing the football around and not showing any real signs of ever moving away from the past. But then, an unnamed woman who we can somewhat safely assume is Tammy comes riding up to him on a bicycle, smiling. So what do we learn from this? Bitches be tripping. Or, be yourself and the rest will follow. Stuff like that. So overall, I think the message of the film is to be yourself, to find out who you are, and to surround yourself with those who appreciate that true version of who you are as an individual, without trying to change you, without trying to make you do things you don't want to do, without trying to force you into some kind of box, but just to let you be you and to let that inner beauty shine for the world to see. But that's what I think. Let me know what you think. If you like this video, give me a like and share it amongst your friends. If you didn't like it, give me a dislike and share it amongst your enemies. Either way, let me know your reasons in the comments. Subscribe if you have not already. Thank you for watching, and until next time,
Lucky.